Hello everyone, welcome back to the course. And in this video, what we are going to talk about is what are objects inside JavaScript. So we have talked about the various, we have talked about various data types. We have talked about various concepts in JavaScript. The objects is basically used to store the collections of key and value. So for example, you have got a user, like you wanted to store the user information, its name is, either the user is admin or not, what is the email, what is the phone number, what is title, what sort of the profile for that user is. All those kind of information you can store inside a single variable, which is known as objects, instead of creating the multiple variables separately for each and every attribute. We can also have multiple complex label objects, like objects inside an object. We will talk about that in the demo itself. So we as we said that objects are basically can be created with the help of a curly braces. If we only provide the curly braces, that means, which is basically a blank object. As you can see here, if we create let user equal to curly braces, then it is going to be a blank object, it has nothing, and we can start putting the variables or the values over there. Or what we can do is we can sort of provide some properties, like here in the second example we have provided the name of that user and the age of that user. You can have multiple other properties as well. A property in our, like a key file in the Java, in our object is always going to be a type of string, and the property can be of anything. It can be an object, it can be another object, it can be a string, integer, number, decimal, an array, it can be anything. But when we talked about the object property key value, it will always be basically a string. Now here, this is a very simple concept which we are talking about. Suppose that we have got a user which have only one property which says name equal to John, and then you have got another user which says that admin equal to user. So what you are doing is basically you are trying to copy whatever you have got inside your user variable to the admin variable. And what will happen is basically this user is going to copy the reference, not the values. When we say that reference, that means this is how it is going to look like. It is a user, it is an admin, and there is a variable called name which is stored somewhere in the common memory, which will be shared by user and admin. If you add any additional property to this, it is also going to add additional property to user as well. So now let's quickly see in the demo, and then we will talk about what are the various methods of our object. So we will start here, we'll quickly start. Let's say that this is going to be let obj, which is going to be a blank object, and if you try to print obj, it is going to print a blank object. Okay. Now here, if you wanted to add some properties, like say that you wanted to add a property called name, you wanted to add a property called key, what are the various ways you can have? So you can say that object dot name, and you can put your name over here, or you can put anything. So as you said here, and now if you try to print object, you will say it is saying that this object has one property and it has some name. Okay. Now if you try to have some other thing, let's say that object dot is, you can have is, and then you can have 23. Now if you try to put object, you will see it has is, and it has name and is. Now there is one other way, like say that if you wanted to say that object, and here you wanted to put some sort of let's say that profile name. Okay. And you can say here there is an space between profile and name. So you can have here, say that you wanted to have a profile as an admin, and then you can put object, you will say it is name, is, and profile name. So these are the two various ways which you can use to add additional properties to your object. Now if you wanted to get how you can get that, so that you wanted to get the age, you can say that obj.age, you got 23. Similarly, you can say that obj.name, you got some number, you got some text. Now what if you wanted to get this profile name? Okay, you cannot say that obj.profile name, you will not be able to say that. You can see here even it is not giving you that particular property. You cannot say. If you say, it is going to give you some sort of error, unexpected identifier. So to get this, what we need to do is we need to use the same way that we have used for putting that value in the property, and you say like this. Why I am showing this? This is definitely like this is what we are going to use in our LWC more and more times, and this is very important concept. Even all the concepts which we are learning as a JavaScript phase are important as a part of LWC development. So this is like very simple object which I have declared without any variable. Now if you wanted to declare, say that we say that okay, there is one property, we say that is user is there is one property which says that is admin equal to true, and it say that invalid start hand property, because this is basically it is going to like this. There is nothing something called equal. You need to provide key, then colon, and then the value. Now if you put a user over here, you will be able to see that it has a property called admin as a true. Okay. Now if you wanted to say that user.title, you can provide here admin is the title for that user, and print the user. You will be able to see admin and title. Okay. Now let's talk about the concept that we have seen. We had got one more user. We say that admin equal to user. Okay. Now if I try to print admin, I got whatever I had for user. Okay. Now say that I'm saying that admin dot email equal to some email whatever we have got, and then gmail.com. Okay. Now if I try to print user, you can see it is also having an email value over here. What exactly is happening? As we have seen over the PowerPoint as well, which was saying that it is referencing a reference. It is not exactly referencing a copy. Okay. So whatever you make the changes to admin is going to reflect to the user, or whatever you make the changes to user, it is going to reflect, let's say that username, whatever it is. Now if you try to print admin, you will see username over here. So in JavaScript, basically this is one thing that we need to keep in mind. Whenever we are trying to copy an object, if we use this way, it is going to copy the reference, not the object. Okay. So this is like very simple, a simple and effective way of creating the objects. You can also have like this. Let's say that you have got let user, and you say that okay, this is something like this, and then you can have after that you can have let user, and then this is basically going to be your object. This is another way of creating a user. One thing that I'm going to show over here is say that it is a constant. Okay. And we'll say that admin user, and it is having some sort of, it is having nothing. Okay. As we know that we cannot change the constant value. So if we try to say that admin user dot name equal to Amit, okay, we are able to do that. Why we are able to do that? Because we are not changing the value. We are changing something which is there inside that value. Okay, basically it is an object, and then we are changing the properties of that object, not exactly the value. The admin user is itself there. We are not changing that. Now if I try to say that admin user equal to this, then we will get the error. So if we try to change the value for that constant variable, then we will get the error. But if we try to change the properties of any constant variable, we will not get the error. There is two different things. This is basically the main difference that I wanted to show you for the constant variables. Now let's quickly talk about what are all the various methods inside our object, and how we can get rid of this error, which is basically the copying the reference, how we can get our own copy of that particular object. And before we go there, we can also have say that we have got let user. This is basically have okay, say that we have got a user, and we say that okay, a name is something, some blank name value. Okay, this is basically we are trying to have some sort of blank value. And then we can have one more key over here. We say that admin info, and here it can have multiple object as well. Like it says that it is going to provide you either it is admin or not. So by default we can say that it is admin is false, and then we can say that access, what are all the access it can have. So we can say that access can be a type of array, it can be multiple access. Okay, these arrays we'll talk about, you don't need to worry about that. So it can have like say that it has IP access. Okay, then it has email access. These are few things that you have. And then if you try to have user, you've got this, right? You've got user, under user you've got admin info, and under admin info you've got access. So basically this is a very complex structure that I have given, I have just shown to you, because you might be working in such sort of structure in your real-time project. And then now if you wanted to say that you wanted to change, you have some sort of admin. Okay, so we'll say that admin equal to user, and then you can say that admin dot admin info dot is admin, and you can say that it is true. And now if you say that admin, it is going to have name is something, and additional info is admin is selected to true. That is what we have. Okay, so basically that is how this complex structure of your objects also work. So these are the various methods of our objects. Like we have got object.create, which is again used to initialize an object. We will see how we can use that. Then we have got object.fromEntries. We can also create with the help of a map. If we have a map, we can create an object. Then we can see has own property. Basically, it is going to tell you if that particular property is the property of that object, or that property is of another related object. Okay, then we've got object.assign. Basically this is going to be used for your cloning purpose, copying the object from one to another. Object.keys is going to return all the keys for that object. Object.values are going to return all the values for that object. Object.is we have already talked about. Object.entries, we will see what it does return. Basically it does return key and value pair. And then we have got freeze and we have got seal. So now let's quickly see what are all the object methods one by one. We'll start from object.create. So we have seen a way to create an object. Now we are we wanted to create an object with the help of object.create method. So what we will do is we'll say that okay, we've got object.create, and we can say that we have got a name, and we'll say that Amit, and hit enter. You will say it is a user, it has nothing. So basically whenever we are creating an object, we can also use object.create. Provide anything, it is going to give you a blank object, and you can have that object. Okay, so no matter whatever you provide, it will always treat that as blank. Now what we will say that is, let's quickly have my map. Okay, so we have got a my map. So what we will say that is, we have got a map, and then we'll say that my map dot set mail, and then we also say that my map. So basically what we did is we created a map with two values, email and first name. Okay, this is what it is printing. Now if we wanted to create an object on top of this map, how we can do is, so we will say that let's say that let map equal to, we'll say that object dot from entries or form entries. Okay, this is from entries, and then what we will say that we have got my map. Okay, and then we'll hit enter, and if we say that map, it is going to create a value over here. So you say here it is got email, sorry, email and first name. Why it is taking this my map? Because map has also the same structure that your object has. Your object has a structure of key and value, your map also have a structure of and value. That is why it is able to create that. Now if we talk about map dot values, or this is your object, sorry, map dot keys, we have object method. So we'll say that object dot values, and here we need to provide the map, whatever the object basically we have. So we say that map, it is giving us the array of the values for that object. Okay, if you wanted to get the keys, so we'll say that object dot keys, and we will say that it is going to give us the array of the keys. Similarly, we have got object dot entries, we'll say that map. Now this time it is going to give us the array of key and value for every entry. It say that email, this is the value, then it says that first name, and this is the value. That is what it does give us for the entry. Okay, now let's talk about copying that user. Okay, so we'll say that let user, and then we'll say that we have got this user. This is basically our user is. Now what we wanted to have is we wanted to create another admin. We'll say that let admin user, and we wanted to clone this so that if we make any changes to the admin user, it should not reflect to user. So how we can do that? There are two ways. One thing is that we can use curly braces, then three dots, and then the variable name. The variable name is user, and if you hit enter, it is going to create an admin user with the name which is only saying that Amit. Why? Because it is not going to give you your this additional information. Okay, this is admin info. Is it something, some other variable it is taking? Let's create some other basically variable over here so that we don't get confused, because there are some other we say that user admin. This is what we have got, and then we'll say that admin new, and here we will use the same concept, and we'll say that three dots, and let's copy our variable which is user admin, paste it over here and paste. So we'll say that admin new, and now you can see here we've got all the information whatever we have admin info, name and email. Earlier we were actually getting the value from some other object. Okay, so we have got here. Now if I try to change something, let's say that we've got admin new dot, I've got name, and say that I've got Amit, and I say admin, and I've got name as Amit, and if I say this is what I have got as user admin, if I put this, I see here, you can see the clear difference between this time. What you have is you are able to clone this, and there is no reflection between any of these. Like whatever you make the changes to this variable, it is not going to reflect to your variable, to the original variable which is user admin. So this is one way that you can have. Then there is one thing that we can have is we can say that admin new. This is again a new variable, and this time what you can say is, let's quickly have this initialize. This time you can say that object dot assign. So this method you have to use at very careful. You have to be very careful by using that. If you provide a blank array for the first element which is target, if you see here, the method it is saying the target and sources, and these are all the three ways we can use this method. So if you assign, like if you provide a blank array and then you provide user admin, basically your whatever your object name is, it is going to create a blank array. Basically it is going to assign this to the blank array, then return a new array, and you can start working on this. But if you try to provide something else over here, say that if you try to provide use, say that admin new, so what it will do is basically it is going to add this value to this admin new, and then again the same concept is going to work. The same concept, basically copying the data from one object to another object if we are making any changes. We will see both. Let's quickly see first this one, and we have got admin new, and I'll say that email, so that some email at whatever we have got, and if I say admin new, you can see here this is what we have got, and if we say that use admin, there is no changes in that particular data. So this is the other way of cloning that object. You can use this object. Most of the time I try to prefer using this way. There are some other ways that you can also have. The other ways is like you can say that admin admin a, and what you can use is you can use JSON class. You can say that JSON dot stringify. What object you have got use admin. First what you are doing is you are converting that JSON to object to a string, and then you say that now as you have the string, string to convert that string to object. So first convert object to a string. As soon as you convert that object to a string, it is going to lose the reference between the object, and then you can convert that string to the object so that now it can become the object, and you can have that whatever you make the changes now you are the boss for that particular variable. So you can say that admin info dot is admin, you can say that true, and you say that admin a, and you will get that admin access, this is basically having a true, and if you say that use admin, it is basically having the value for the false. So that is the third way that you can have. Most like you might be using any of these based on your requirement in your LWC component, but these are the three ways that you can copy data from one value to another value. That is what that object.assign does. Now let's quickly talk about object.has own properties, and then we'll talk about object.seal and object.freeze. So we already have, like we already have use admin. So now if I say that object.has own property, and if I wanted to check if this particular name is the property of this particular object or not, it will say that yes, it is the property of this particular basically object.has own properties. It is saying that okay, this is the property true. Okay, and if I say that object.has own properties and I say that is admin, it is saying that false. The reason, because is admin is basically the properties of another object which is inside a particular object. I haven't quite found a way to basically use this particular method in like so far, so that is what I'm just showing you what actually it does, and that is it for this particular method. Now if we talk about object.seal, okay, and we have got use admin. So if we seal an object, what we have is, now let's say that you say that try to use that use.admin, and you say that okay, there is something email equal to, you say that some email, and then hit enter. And then if you try to say that use admin, you are able to provide the value. Okay, but if you say that you try to say that you wanted to delete an element, so that delete, say that use admin dot email, it is saying that false. What does that mean is it cannot delete that particular element. So whenever you are sealing an object, you can make the changes to the properties of that object, but you cannot delete the properties for that particular object. We haven't seen this delete method. We can quickly say that, let's say that we've got delete, and we say that admin new dot email, and if you say that admin new, the email property has been deleted. Basically this delete method is used to delete any property from the object of any JavaScript object that we have defined. Now let's get back to our seal. Seal is basically going to seal your object. It is not going to freeze. It's not going to completely freeze. It is going to seal. You cannot delete any properties, but you can make the changes to the property. Similarly, if you say that object.freeze, and we say that we've got use admin, and this time if we say that use admin.name, and we say that Amit, and we say that use admin, it is not going to let you make any changes into your object. Freeze means it is completely going to freeze. You cannot delete any parameter. That is uh, the same thing you have got. It is not going to delete, even it is not going to let you make the changes. So in some cases, I have encountered where we don't want it to make the changes into that object after certain stage. So you can freeze that object. Or if you don't want it to delete the elements, but you want it to make the changes to that element, you can seal that object. So these are all the methods of your objects, and this is all about the objects inside our JavaScript, a very important concept. And we will meet into the next video where we will talk about the conditional statements like if else or switch statement. Thank you.